calm down, cause he just wanna learn something, so I teach him something. I am the one that teach. Call me 10 wins and 20.
And eventually I'm like, this has to stop. And the part that made me the most mad, again, say what you want about me, I know you're a joke, but the part that made me the most mad is I made a mistake. I made bad judgment. I went on his show. By doing that, I introduced people to his channel, and some of those people, they never came back, and they're completely IPS trolls now.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's kicked out some really key members, you know, that were in there and actually had a lot of support for him. I mean, Ace McLeod for one, Adam Earthpond was another, and these guys have been completely ousted. Why? Because they either stood up for me or they didn't obey the little IPS, you know, cult rules, and you know, so then he ousts them and chastises them, you know, and talks about what terrible. And now Ace McLeod is apparently a pedophile as a result of it. He says that we're all supporting pedophiles because of who is that guy? Wes Stace, right? Wes Stace apparently had some sort of teenage girl sex thing in his search history.
Yeah,
it's like
Wes Stace, who I never even knew who he was until I seen his image in IPS's video saying we all support him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know what? Half the men on Earth probably have some sort of a sex search, and you know, as far as the teenage girl things, whatever. I mean, whatever. You know, it's like, yeah. So so Wes is a pervert. He likes to look at young girls. Most of those girls, I'm sure, were over 18, and if they weren't, then Wes Stace, you know, obviously has a problem. But the thing is just because that it's in there, then IPS builds this whole federal case like, you know, Wes is the worst person in the world because he had, oh my God, he searched teenage girl sex, you know, on porn. It's like, holy crap, you know? You know, and I'm not condoning that or anything like that. I'm just simply saying that, you know, boys will be boys. And, you know, there isn't a guy out there that hasn't looked at stuff like that. And I'm sorry, you know, anybody that denies it, whatever, you know, but to try and literally tear somebody apart at the seams, you know, because of a little search result, and you know, for all he knows, it could have been Wes's son that did it, you know, whatever. But I mean, this is the kind of tactic that he uses. Another person he went after was Josh, right?
Oh yeah.
And all that. And yeah, granted, I don't condone sleeping with 14-year-old girls. That's pretty bad. But, you know, I also have to allow for the possibility that maybe Josh didn't realize it. You know, it's hard to believe that he wouldn't realize she was, you know, really young. But there's always that possibility because, you know, hey, let's face it, girls grow up fast these days. And it's hard to tell sometimes. But again, I'm not protecting that. But then what he did is just because of the fact that any of us even associated with Josh, then we were automatically pedophile protectors.
Well, he made a documentary and he kept re-airing it, and he called it, instead of Behind the Curve, it was Behind the Perv. And he told everybody I was behind the perv. And at this point in time, I had never even spoken to Josh. Now, I did end up meeting him later down at the Flattoberfest. I hadn't even met him at that point. So these guys will just say that about anybody. And I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, I hadn't met him either. And honestly, I thought he was a nice guy, you know. And, you know, he's out there working his ass off doing activism. And you know what? I want to see what the Penguins have done. You know, what have they ever brought, you know, besides hate and discontent? You know, granted, when IPS first came out, you know, he did some decent, you know, activism as far as rallying the troops. But after that, it was all about him, baby. And that's all it was about. And, you know, all they do is sit there and literally talk about people, you know, and how big of shills they are and all this stuff. Every podcast, every day. It's absolutely shameful. It really is.